I'm Danny Quinn, and welcome back to the 2020 Christmas special, where every day leading up to December 25th, I'll be picking out another festive themed movie from my stocking for you all to gobble down upon. We're now up to day 6 in our little Christmas marathon, and for today's video, we're going to be going all the way back to the post-war year of 1946, as we discover how and why it's a wonderful life. The movie revolves around George Bailey, a kind-hearted but unfortunate banker with lofty aspirations of travelling the world, but has had to continuously put his dreams on hold in the name of helping others. But as his problems pile up and just as he's about to reach his lowest ebb, he meets his clumsy guardian angel Clarence, who attempts to show him the effect that his life has had on others. This movie has acquired something of a reputation as a cinematic ugly duckling. It didn't really get a lot of notice or recognition whenever it first came out, but it really found its audience through repeated showings on TV, and it has since been regarded as one of the best Christmas movies of all time. But while critics at the time found the movie overly simplistic and saw that as a sign of weakness, for me, that simplicity has become honestly one of its biggest strengths and the reason why it has endured for so many years. Director Frank Capra's films always had the basic theme of the achievements of the common man, or the little guy going up against the big guy, and It's a Wonderful Life is certainly no exception. As we see Bailey constantly coming into conflict with the treacherous and odious Mr. Potter, played brilliantly by Lionel Barrymore, whose dialogue just radiates with smug contempt. He's the type of guy that you just love to despise, like Miss Trunchbull from Matilda, Mrs. Deagle from Gremlins, the Warden from The Shawshank Redemption, and the real Jeffrey Lebowski in The Big Lebowski. Hell, Lebowski and Potter even look a lot alike, so the similarities couldn't have been unintentional. James Stewart is as reliably excellent as ever in the role of George Bailey, exhibiting a nervous energy as he frantically attempts to maintain control of every escalating situation. As a banker, George Bailey probably isn't the most likely of everyman characters, but Stewart brings a softness and a down-to-earth quality that makes his selflessness and compassionate nature seem all the more believable. You believe that this is a man who would do anything to help others, even if it means that he doesn't get much in return. But he's also a flawed man who can let his temper get the better of him, especially whenever he reaches his lowest point and has to beg his nemesis for help. But while the movie is generally considered a feel-good movie, it's also surprisingly dark. It's here where we see Bailey's frustrations at having to sacrifice his personal wants for the greater good bubbling to the surface, and he even begins contemplating suicide as he feels like a failure. But he also meets Clarence, a bumbling guardian angel who's trying to get his wings, who shows him a world where he never existed and how Bedford Falls, the town in the movie, has been affected as a result. Suffice to say, it's not a very nice place. It's almost like something out of the Twilight Zone. And you can see some subtle and not so subtle references to it in the likes of the first two Back to the Future movies. And perhaps because the movie does become so unsettling, especially in its third act, it makes the ending of the movie all the more powerful because it feels like it's genuinely earned. Some might say that it makes Bailey out to be some kind of messianic figure, but I personally see it more as the film saying, hey, you may think you're a failure, you may think that you're worthless, but you're really not. And the world would be worse off without you, which, honestly, no matter who you are, I think that is actually a pretty touching message. For all the Capra's celebrations of individualism, it's actually kind of a remarkable ode to the power of community spirit. And just like Klaus, it knows that the Christmas season is about giving and not receiving. I know some people probably do have a very cynical view on this movie, which is totally fine. We all see art through different filters and lenses, but for me personally, I think the heart and hopefulness of the film really shines through on screen. The movie is very much about appreciating what you have, even if it's not exactly a lot. It's great to have that drive to be better or to be in a better place, but sometimes you just gotta slow down and appreciate what you have in the present, as opposed to what's in the distance. It's a Wonderful Life is still wonderful after nearly 75 years, thanks to the heartfelt script and the excellent performances, especially from James Stewart. While it didn't initially receive the success that it deserved, its legacy still endures to this very day, well beyond what both Capra and Stewart could have possibly imagined. I've always quite liked this movie, especially after seeing it for the first time all the way through a few years ago, but it wasn't until I revisited the movie that I really began to appreciate and love the movie for what it was. So with that, I'm going to close on a statement from James Stewart himself. The movie simply refused to stay on the shelf. Those who loved it a lot. They wouldn't let it die any more than the angel Clarence would let George Bailey die. Well said, Stewart. Well said.